Someone uploaded photos of tracks from an old Egyptian quarry to the chatbot Grok and asked directly, "What cut this?" The answer sounded calm and confident, too even for a human hand, too smooth for the strike of a stone hammer. It looks more like the work of an industrial machine than the labor of ancient stonemasons. The video went viral in 24 hours, and hundreds of thousands of people froze at a single thought. What if the machine noticed what we stubbornly do not want to be? To brush it off with a single motion does not work, because the oddities in this stone are real. This is one of the hardest stones on Earth. Those who worked it had neither iron, nor a wheel, nor electricity. And at the same time on the rock, there are smooth arcs with almost identical spacing and monoliths heavier than 200 elephants. So before arguing with the box answer, all of this will have to be explained by oneself. And there is an answer. It is not about aliens and not about lost machine. It turned out to be much more human, and to be honest, much more frightening than anything the artificial intelligence produced. But to get to it, one will have to walk across this stone step by step, because every time it seems that the mystery is about to close, it opens anew. Let us start from the place where all this lies. Quarry that you are guided past in 5 minutes on the banks of the Nile, in the south of Egypt, there is a place that at first glance promises nothing. The flat silence of the desert, abandoned boulders, unhewn blocks. A tourist group passes it in 5 minutes, but as soon as you approach the rock closely, the mundanity evaporates. It is all about the stone itself. This is not soft limestone and not loose sandstone, which yield to a simple chisel. It is granite. On the hardness scale, it stands around 6 or 7 out of 10. It easily scratches glass and argues in stubbornness with tempered steel. People who cut it professionally today say directly, even with a modern tool with a diamond coating, it is hard work. And now look at what is carved into this granite. Long, smooth arcs run along the stone in rows with almost identical spacing, as if something rolled over the surface in one even motion. No torn chips, no chaos, none of that jerky unevenness that a tired human hand leaves. Almost everyone who sees this for the first time reacts the same way, leans in, falls silent, and asks aloud, "Is this really thousands of years old?" Because at first glance, it looks like the work of a machine. And this feeling that something does not add up here is exactly the crack into which the whole story falls. Why cut the most stubborn stone on Earth in the first place? A fair question arises. If granite is so unyielding, why did the ancients deal with it at all? There is plenty of soft limestone around which even a copper chisel can take. Take it and build. The answer is in the character of the stone. Pink Aswan granite is dense, heavy, and almost does not fear time. Limestone crumbles, weathers, turns yellow, and falls apart over the centuries. Granite stands for millennia, almost exactly as it was carved out. For a pharaoh who was ordering not a shed, but eternity, this was a decisive argument. An obelisk of granite is a claim to immortality, to the fact that your name will outlive both grandchildren and great-grandchildren and your very era. There was also a second reason: pride. Precisely because granite is so hard to process, a product made of it became a silent demonstration of power. It spoke without words. I have thousands of hands, years of time, and the power to bend even the most stubborn stone on Earth. So the difficulty was not a hindrance, but part of the design. Granite was chosen not in spite of its hardness, but thanks to it. An easily defeated stone impresses no one, but the one that resisted until the last blow and still submitted stands for thousands of years afterward and proves that someone passed here who found the impossible to be within their capability. It only remains to understand who and how. The convenient version from the textbook. The textbook answers calmly and long ago. No mysterious technology. Stone spheres made of dolerite, a dark volcanic rock that does not crumble from an impact the way granite does. Workers brought them down onto the rock again and again, hour after hour, until the stones surrendered. The scale of this version is impressive in itself. Through the quarries, according to the estimates of historians, passed tens of thousands of people. The numbers often revolve around 20,000, working in shifts so that the business did not stand still for a single day. The labor is described as penal. People beat the stone for hours, day after day for months, before one large block separated from the rock. On paper, everything adds up. Give an unfulfillable task enough people and enough time, and the impossible begins to seem achievable. This is an honest argument, and it deserves respect. The catch appeared when several researchers stopped arguing in words and decided to test this version with their hands. And what they got turned out to be more interesting than both sides expected. When the theory was finally decided to be tested, they took a real dolerite sphere, stood at that very rock, and began to beat on the granite, measuring every little detail, about 85 blows per minute. The rate of stone removal was approximately 216 cubic centimeters per hour, a little more than a glass of crushed granite for a whole hour of exhausting work. It is important that this worked. The granite yielded. This means the version with dolerite is not a fairy tale. You can beat the stone this way. But the same measurement also revealed the real splinter. A glass of crumbs per hour is very slow. Multiply by the entire bulk of rock taken out of this quarry, by all the tons of stone that went into obelisks and statues all over Egypt, and a question arises around which specialists argue to this day. Was dolerite alone enough, or did something else go into the business? Translate this glass per hour into something tangible. From just one unfinished obelisk, tens of cubic meters of granite would have had to be removed. Alone, glass by glass, a whole human life would not be enough for this. Hence the crowds of workers in the textbook. Without them, the arithmetic simply does not add up, and hence the suspicion, did the bear strike not have a stronger helper? Notice the difference from the bot's confident answer. Real science here does not shout, "We know everything." It says, "Here is what we measured, and here is what does not add up yet." And it is this honest gap that keeps the story from closing, because if a blow with a sphere is not enough, then what else left these even arcs? Marks as if left by a spoon in butter. Let us return to the marks themselves because a separate puzzle hides in them. Up close, these are not rough chips, but smooth, concave grooves running in rows, similar to the imprint of a spoon in soft butter. Only this is granite, not butter. It is these spoon-like furrows that launch all the loud theories. They are far too even and fluid to believe in a tired hand with a stone. But there is a detail that is bypassed in loud videos. Next to these grooves, there are no mountains of scooped-out granite. If the stone had been scooped out like with a spoon from butter, there would be mounds of shavings lying around. There are none, and that means the stone in these depressions was not removed in a piece. It was crushed into dust right on the spot, and the shape of the groove only shows how the crushing zone moved along the wall, removing layer after layer. It sounds much more boring than a sensation, and yet down to the last hollow, the dispute about these marks is not closed. The stone left us handwriting that we are still analyzing letter by letter, and the longer you stare into it, the more you want to understand. In what cramped conditions was this handwriting drawn out? A slit the width of one step. Because there was almost no room to work, the trench around the famous unfinished obelisk is about 75 centimeters wide, exactly enough for one person to squeeze into the slit between the future monument and the rock. Imagine this scene: a narrow crack in the granite, scorching in the sun. Below is the same hard stone. On the sides are walls, and in this cramped space, you must not just pound, but draw an even line for many meters, hour after hour, shift after shift, without straying by a single degree. And this is only half the battle. The obelisk lies in the rock like a loaf in dough.